So just need to get out my phone here, just briefly. Okay, so here we go. Here we have tonight Mathieu Hallé. Welcome to Mathieu. He is a solution architect and full stack developer with over 25 years of experience building web platforms, systems, and tools with a human-centered approach. He's the founder of CivicPress, not Civic Tech, that's us. He's the founder of CivicPress, which he's going to talk about, which is an open source civic platform focused on transparency, local first design, and practical trust in government technology. He lives with his family on a small sugarbush in Quebec. I admit I do not know what a sugarbush is, as I am British. So that will be my first question to Mathieu.
It's a little patch of wood with a lot of maple trees you can make maple syrup out of.
That sounds completely divine, to be honest. Okay, Matthew's going to be talking about CivicPress, which is a new open source platform that helps towns and cities publish meetings, bylaws, budgets, civic records, and so on in a transparent way, an inspectable way, without vendor lock-in, importantly there. So Matthew's going to talk about how the project began, what it's trying to do, what it's trying to fix, and how open source tools like this can help rebuild public trust from the ground up. So Mathieu, over to you.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna share my screen, share window, this window. All right, there we go. So now I guess you can see the presentation. Nice. All right. So thanks again for letting me have a few moments of your time tonight. Like we said before, my name is Mathieu, and I founded the CivicPress, which is an open source APR for civic life about a few months ago. Starting to work on the project, and now it's getting all good. So just to introduce myself a little bit, it's kind of weird to see my face there, but I've been a full stack developer for almost 30 years now. I've built the web platform and backends and all sorts of tool and IoT device with large budget for large corporation and for small, no budget OSBL, I don't have the English word, but the non-profit organization. And I care a lot about technology that are practical and easy to use, because the human factor is often something that is not taken into account when technology is being built, and most engineers tend to forget that technology is going to be used by people and it should be efficient and easy to use.
Hi, folks. I think we may have just lost Mathieu. Oh, you're there?
Am I back? Yeah, I'm back. Sorry.
You are back. You're back. False alarm.
False alarm. Sorry about that. I just didn't hit the arrow in the right window.
So, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Carry on, please.
Let me share again. All right. So back where we were. Why CivicPress? Well, the media nowadays are just full of example of civic tech projects that don't go well. Most of the civic tech nowadays are it's very fragile. It's based on most of the time old ERP, old system, legacy system. It's very expensive, it's fragile, and it's closed. So not a lot of people know how to run those big ERP or big system, and companies tend to abuse of that with public money. And on the that's one side of the spectrum, where you have big project like the Phoenix payroll, that its budget just exploded, and we have the same here in Quebec right now. It's quite a nice reality TV. It's a sad reality TV to watch right now, but about SAQ clip in Quebec that almost blew its budget by 200%, I think. And on the upper side of the spectrum, you have very small towns that don't have budget or knowledge to have any tool to help them with democracy and to run town. So they're stuck with PDF Word document and a WordPress website to upload their stuff when they can, when they have staff. So I see that in my own little town here. It's a town of about 5,000 people, and minutes of session, or I think the last one we have is from 3 years ago on the website right now. So it's hard for a small city to keep up with their civic duties. And that's why I decided to make CivicPress and to change that a little bit, to make an open tool that is easy for clerk and city to use, and is inspectable, so anybody can play with it and see the code, see how it's made, and that is accountable. So like, I want to give the power back to the municipality and the government in their code. So what is CivicPress basically? So it's a civic ERP for civic life. So it's modular by design. It's highly configurable, so you don't have to rewrite code to be able to use it in a town, let's say in Quebec versus in Ontario or in Europe, that would have different way to govern themselves. So with only configuration, you can change the way the platform itself works, the way it has to validate record, and so on. It's everything you put in the system is version, and every change becomes visible, so you know who changed what and when. So for trust, it's a good thing. And then there's a ledger module that's going to link all the decision made to the actual money, so you can actually follow, like, okay, the city council voted to improve this park, so this is the resolution, and this is the and then you can have like the quotes from various vendor, and then you can see where we voted to pick the vendor, and when it was the work were executed, and then when the vendor was paid. So you can follow the money trail along with the rest of the civic infrastructure. And we wanted to work in small cities that don't have the infrastructure, up to national agency that serve 1 million. That's a pretty big ambitious goal we have, but I think it's doable. Our core principle is quite simple. It's transparency first. Everything in the code should be inspectable and should be reviewable by anyone. We don't want anything to be a black box and not inspectable by people. It should bring trust in the system. You should be able to see what's happening with the system. It's for public good. We don't want it to be closed. It should be free of use for any government or town or city that want to use it. Equity is a big thing. We want it to be able to work for small towns that don't have the technical knowledge, or bigger town that could run it in cloud infrastructure and serve millions of people. Ease of use, like I've said before, humans are going to be using it, so it has to be easy to use and very user friendly. And the last part is open source, because we don't want the infrastructure to be a product. It's just like the road. It should be available to anyone, and yeah, it should be free to use. So that's our core principle. How we think we might be able to change the current landscape of civic technology is I don't think we're reinventing something. We're just doing something that people did before. I remember in the late 90s, building website was very expensive, and only a few very rich client could afford those, because most agency would build their content management system by themselves, and that was expensive. And in 2003, WordPress came along, and now everybody could publish on the internet for almost free, or at least very cheap. So then the agency started to use that platform, and a few years later, Well, WordPress is powering 40% of the website online nowadays, and the price for website drastically dropped after that. Odoo did the same thing with ERPs. They started for small and medium businesses, and slowly they grew up, and now Fortune 500 are using Odoo, and so that broke the monopoly that Oracle and SAP had before. And we think that with CivicPress we can do something similar, that we can give a free and open source option to any town or any government that want to use it. And the beauty of it is, because it's open, you can actually develop your own module and your own infrastructure and then share it with other towns. So the open sourceness of the project is something that makes it powerful, and that can actually change the market for the better, at least for us, the taxpayer. Now the system itself, I didn't rebuild anything from scratch. I based everything on open source technologies that already existed. There's no black box. Everything is inspectable. Everything can be tinkered with. Everyone can see the code and how it works. This is a little bit of the architecture itself. At the beginning, we put everything in very open format. So we use Markdown and CSV. Why Markdown? Because it's a very open format. It's simple to read for any human. You can just open it, and you can open those files with any plain text editor. You don't need a special software to open them. It's same for CSV, for budget and numbers. Then we use Git to actually save the record. So for developer, we've been using Git for a long time to keep our code and to share and to collaborate on our code. And using it for civic activities is almost the same. We just archive everything, and then everything is versioned. We can see who changed what, when, and yeah. After that, we've got, well, role days and permission, and that's just to make sure that the proper people can have the proper action on the platform. Then we've got a ledger that's going to connect the budget and the money. So you're going to be able to follow the taxpayer money from the vote to the payment and see like what happened with that money. We're also, we want to be local first, because we know that in some places the internet is not something widely available, especially in northern Canada or in Africa or in very remote area. And those city and town do need democracy software. So we want it to be local first, so it can run off a laptop with a USB key if it needs, but it's also cloud ready. It's probably going to be deployed more often in the cloud, but it's important that it can be run without internet as well for reliable, and also so it's resilient. So if the internet goes down, well, the system keeps on working and it's still usable by citizens. And the last point, it's not on the slide, but developer nowadays, there's a new thing called, well, vibe coding. I don't like it. I don't like calling it vibe coding. To me, vibe coding was in early 2000, where you'd grab a few Red Bull, put on your headphone and your hoodie, and just code for the night. That was vibe coding. Now, I think they've tried to put AI into it. So we added to the development framework AI workflow for developer to help them produce code faster. But all of those AI code, well, AI prompt and AI agent are kept in the project, so they're inspectable, and we can actually see what the AI is doing while it's helping us, well, helping the developer actually do their stuff. What's working right now? Well, right now we can published record in Markdown. Everything is committed to Git, so a full history of every change is being locked. We already have the basic search, filter, status tag, and that kind of stuff. We've got user role already implemented. We have a basic UI for now. It's running out of Nux. So it's really, you've got the backend API and the front end app itself that is built in Nux UI. And there's a small demo online that you can visit. There's not much record and stuff to see, but you can play with it and see what it can do basically for now. Now the next step, where do we want to go with that? Apart of helping cities do their work properly. So our roadmap is for the next few months will be to finalize well, we can create record, but we want to upgrade the way they're being validated. We also have a hook system and workflow, but we want to improve those a lot so the system becomes much more extendable. And we want to introduce a governance model. So a town in Quebec can just load this basic governance model and use it right away, or a town in Ontario could load their own governance model. I have a problem saying that word tonight. Governance model. So yeah, having a few more. We'd love to have a few pilot towns start to use this tool side by side with the current tool they have. I know I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be shadowing the inner work of my little town, Richmond, here in Quebec, and I'm going to be feeding CivicPress with like the minutes and the resolution and the bylaws and whatnot, and I'm going to shadow the government for a little while, but we'd love to have more town doing it if it's possible. And eventually we're going to get into scaling and more deployment option. I mean, right now deployment is sort of manual, but we want to have better deployment scenario for small town or big cloud for bigger infrastructure if you want to push it to Azure or Amazon Web Service. And eventually we're going to have the expansion part where we're going to have a lot of new module and plugins implemented. So the ledger module, so you can follow the money, feedback module, so citizen can actually comment or propose stuff to their town council, and calendars for various meeting in town and that kind of stuff. So more module will be added eventually. And that leaves us what and how can you help? Right now we're looking for everybody that want to jump in. The code base of the project is matures. It's 95% completed, but the code base is now big enough that we can have more than 1 or 2 developer work on it without being without creating a merge hell when we try to push our code back to Git. We obviously need Civic worker that know how the inner working of the government works, like what's the process for having a law put in place, how many people should vote, what's the gate in those workflow and whatnot. Obviously we need designer. I mean, the UI is not that bad because it's on a pre-made library, but obviously it could be made better and more accessible to people. And basically anyone that cares, anybody would that want to stand up and give their opinion and have something intelligent to say, we're listening. I mean, we just want to make this a tool that can be used by any city and anybody that want to have a clean democracy and a transparent democracy. So even if you're someone of influence and think you could get your town to do a shadow run for a few months using CivicPress, well, I mean, we're interested to have your help. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks a lot for letting me talk tonight. And yeah, I think democracy works better in daylight. So let's try to bring that daylight to civic infrastructure in the digital world. Thanks.
Thank you, Mathieu. Round of applause. Mathieu, please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mathieu. That was fantastic, really interesting. I know that there's a lot of people in the room who are really interested in government transparency. There are a couple of projects in civic tech to try and kind of solve the other end of the problem, really, the fact that it is so difficult for people to understand what's going on in government. You know, they have to make these tools in order to make it more transparent for people. Hey, but this maybe is something that could solve the problem in the first place, if only people could access that and interpret that themselves. So really interesting, thank you so much for coming to talk to us about it. We do have a few minutes for questions. As usual, online folk, if you wouldn't mind, if you've got a question, just popping a Q in the chat. And what we're going to do is we're going to kind of alternate between online and in person. I should say also that Mathieu has very kindly agreed to do a breakout session until 9. So you can continue the conversation with Mathieu between 8 and 9, and he'll be in the kind of main Zoom room to talk to you further. So thanks, Mathieu, for that. Okay, first, we're going to go in the room. We already have a question from Gabe over here. Go, Richard, thank you.
Thanks. I love the presentation, love the tech, love the manifesto. I guess the worry I have about cities being able to adopt this is that cities often don't have, especially the smaller cities, don't have people who are familiar with open source tools who would be able to like actually deploy and maintain this. And also they have like a really strong preference for hiring a vendor who can just like take care of a lot of those details. So have you thought about like how the business side of this would work and what it would actually take for cities to adopt this rather than just running it parallel as a shadow system?
Well, right now we want to run it in parallel as a shadow system to test and strengthen the platform itself. But eventually, I believe that having a setup similar to WordPress, where you have WordPress.org, which is the free version, but you also have WordPress.com, which is a paid version and a consulting platform. So you can hire people from WordPress.com to help you out with your free open source software. So we can make a foundation that's going to take care of actually helping town set it up, and so we can in that way become that big trustable vendor kind of thing. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Sounds like it does. Thank you, Mathieu. One more in the room, then we'll go online. Brian, then.
Thank you, Mathieu. Could you speak a little bit more about, you had talked about using Ledger to connect budget and votes to actual expenditure. And I'm wondering how that works out when a lot of expenditure is for like human resources or kind of horizontal infrastructure for things.
We don't plan to go as far as like HR and payroll and that kind of stuff, at least for the first version. So we don't want to replace like big software that already exists, like SAP or Oracle, but we can at least help town and citizen figure out like what the public side of the information. We can help them with that. I mean, if we want to go into payroll and HR, that's a more complicated system and involve more security and whatnot. So we might reach that point yet, but it's a far. In 2 years we might get there. But for now, we focus on the easy grab stuff, what's already public, what's the missing link between like the democracy and the budget. So yeah, we're trying to fill that gap so a citizen could easily access, okay, this is the budget for this year, and this line here goes with this bylaw or this thing that was voted 6 months ago and whatnot, so we can actually have a trail of spending kind of thing. But no, I don't think we'll go into like complex APR mechanics like for payment and that kind of stuff, at least not for now. Don't know if that answers the question.
All right, thank you, Mathieu. We're going to go online. We've got a couple of minutes. We can still squeeze a couple of questions in if we're if we can. So, who's got a question online, Ashish?
I've got Ushmish as number one, or could I ask anyone else? Ushmish, would you like to go, or?
Yeah. So my question is, so the cities often game transparency. So a lot of cities have open data portals, but they only push out data which is non-controversial. How do we guard against that tendency for them to use this tool to only publish what is non-controversial and keep the things that'll cause a lot of questions, maintain secrecy and non-transparency around that?
I mean, if human want to hide something, they're obviously always going to be able to do it. But the platform itself, if it's used by the entire city, there's going to be multiple users being able to access the same data. So hiding stuff is a little more difficult in that sense, because like the entire civic life of the city should be in CivicPress somewhere. So it becomes hard to hide stuff, and it's hard as well to change stuff. Like if there's a number you don't like, well, if you go to edit that record and to change it, well, it's gonna leave a trace. So it's yeah, we try to make it as public as it can. But I don't right now, if someone doesn't want to publish something, they can not publish it. But then again, if a lot of people have access to the same data, it becomes harder to hide something, because if you want to hide it, maybe someone else is going to be, okay, let's publish it. So it's the more people can look at something, the less chance there's going to be that people are going to hide what's not favorable to them. At least that's the hope we have.
We can only hope, Mathieu. We can only hope. Any other questions online before we wrap up, Ashish? Okay. Thank you, Mathieu. I know that you are around to talk more to people in the break, so thank you for that. In the meantime, though, can I have another big round of applause for Mathieu Hallé?